You think you know yourself. You think you've mapped the terrain of your relationships. You can spot a liar. You know how to avoid toxic people. You trust your instincts. But what if I told you the most dangerous people in your life are not those who scream, manipulate, or hurt with intention? They are the ones who smile, who listen, who quietly live in your memories, your home, your heart. And worse, what if I told you sometimes that person is you? Tonight, you're not watching a video. You're entering a mirror, a descent, not into madness, but into the deeper layers of your own psyche. Welcome to the inner realm, where nothing is as it seems, where emotions have shapes, relationships wear masks, and memories echo with voices you forgot were yours. Here, there are no names, no faces, only archetypes, psychological forces that wear the skin of people you've met, loved, feared, or been. You are the traveler now, and before you return, you must meet 6 beings. They are shadows stitched from old pain, reflections of unspoken truths, the ones who steal your peace, not because they're evil, but because they are unconscious. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This journey is your first rebellion, your first act of awareness. But beware, each step forward is a step deeper into discomfort, into revelation. Some of what you'll see will feel too familiar, some will hurt, and some might free you in ways you never imagined. Are you ready? Take a breath, close your eyes, let go of what you think you know, and come with me downward, inward, to meet the first face of danger. You find yourself in a dim room, soft light leaking through cracked walls. It's quiet, too quiet, until you feel it. Not a sound, but a weight. She's already there. You didn't see her come in. You don't even know her name, but you feel her presence like a storm that never rains, just hovers. Her eyes are sad. Her voice is soft. She tells you she's been through a lot, that she doesn't need anything from you, except to understand her, except to not leave, except to be there whenever she falls apart. And somehow, you feel responsible. That's how it starts. You think you're helping. You think you're being kind. You tell yourself, she's just sensitive. But slowly, quietly, something shifts. You begin to apologize for things you didn't do. You start to edit your truth so you don't upset her. You start to believe that her pain is your fault. Carl Jung warned us, what we do not confront in ourselves, we will meet as fate. The unconscious manipulator is not evil, but she is dangerous because she does not know her wounds. So she bleeds onto others and calls it love. She doesn't shout. She doesn't demand. She weaves guilt like silk, wraps it around your heart and calls it connection. And you begin to fade. At first, it's just small things. You give up a plan. You silence a feeling. You dim your light so hers can shine. But soon, you don't recognize yourself. Jung said projection is a natural function of the psyche, but when it goes unchecked, when someone uses you as a mirror to see the parts they reject in themselves, you stop being you. You become their screen, their symbol, their scapegoat. Can you remember someone like this? Did they ever say, "You made me feel this way. I just need you to stay"? Why are you being so selfish? You weren't selfish. You were surviving. And here's the truth. You cannot save someone who refuses to see themselves. You cannot carry a wound that isn't yours. You cannot be whole while drowning in someone else's unconscious. So now, as she looks at you again, sad, silent, needing, ask yourself, Is this mine, or is it hers? The spell breaks the moment you ask, and as the guilt unravels, so does her control. Step away, reclaim your shape, because the next figure waits, the one who wears a smile like armor and has forgotten what their real face even looks like. You step into the next space. It's brighter here, clean, elegant, almost too perfect. There's a figure waiting, impeccably dressed, posture straight, smile unwavering. You want to trust them. Everything about them says safe, but your gut says otherwise. This one is polished. They know what to say, when to say it. They fit every room, every expectation. But something's missing, something real. Carl Jung called this the persona, what someone is not, but what they and others think they are. A mask, not evil, just empty. The persona bearer lives for the applause. They thrive on admiration. They fear being truly seen. So they build an identity made of roles: the good son, the perfect friend, the ideal partner. But none of it is them. And being near them, you begin to perform too. You laugh when they laugh. You nod when they speak. You start to ask yourself, do they even know me? Do I even know me? Their presence demands harmony. Authenticity threatens them. So every raw emotion, every honest moment is met with discomfort. They shut down. They smile tighter. And in that silence, you shrink. You remember someone like this, don't you? A colleague, a parent, a lover, who always had it together, but never let you in. Living with a persona bearer is like living on a stage. Everything scripted, every moment rehearsed. But behind the mask is a storm, because nothing repressed stays buried forever. Jung warned, the stronger the persona, the more repressed the shadow. And when the mask cracks, when they can no longer hold the image, what spills out is chaos, confusion, collapse. So now you look into their eyes. They're still smiling, but you see it now. The fatigue, the fear, and perhaps you see your own reflection. Because sometimes, to be accepted, you've worn masks too. But awareness is power. The moment you see the mask, you can choose to remove it. The next room is darker, more uncertain, because now you will face not what others pretend to be, but what they refuse to face. The shadow awaits. You enter the next room, and this time there is no light. The air is thick, heavy, like something's holding its breath, waiting. Then you see him. He stands still, calm, too calm. His voice is measured. His words are few. He doesn't argue. He doesn't complain. He is in control. At first you admire him. Such discipline, such composure. He never lashes out, never loses his temper. But one day, he does. And when he does, it is terrifying. Not loud, not wild, but precise. Cold, explosive. Carl Jung called this the shadow. Everything the individual refuses to acknowledge in themselves and yet insists on projecting outward. This man has never met his anger, never spoken to his envy, never allowed himself to feel desire, weakness, fear. So he buries it. But what's buried doesn't die. It ferments. It waits. And then it erupts. You remember someone like this, don't you? The boss who was always polite until he destroyed a colleague with one sentence. The partner who said, "I'm fine," until they disappeared without a word. The friend who smiled for years until they cut you off without explanation. They live in restraint, but they punish your freedom. They call your emotions too much. They cringe at your spontaneity, because everything you express is what they've denied within themselves. And you begin to suppress too, to avoid confrontation, to be reasonable, to not provoke, until one day you explode too. Jung warned, The more repressed the shadow, the more brutal its return. The shadow owner is not a monster. They are a wounded soul who learned too early that emotions are dangerous. That control is survival, but survival is not living. And their shadow is not just rage. It's also the creativity they never expressed, the joy they never allowed, the authenticity they silenced. So when you see him again, standing there, stoic and still, don't be fooled. He is burning inside. And perhaps so are you. But now you know, the shadow is not the enemy. The real danger is pretending it doesn't exist. You turn to leave the room, but the echo of repressed anger follows you. It whispers, "You're better than this." You know what's right. The voice of the next figure, the guardian of morality, the keeper of shame, the controller who punishes you, not with fists, but with righteousness. This room is different. It feels righteous, clean, controlled, every object aligned, every sound hushed. You hear footsteps before you see him. He walks with purpose, chin high, eyes sharp, not cruel, but disapproving. He doesn't yell, he doesn't curse. He speaks in principles, quotes rules, recites virtue. And yet, you feel small. He praises discipline. He celebrates order. He corrects you subtly but consistently, not because he's angry, but because he cares. Jung warned of this archetype. When morality is merely a mask, it becomes one of the most insidious forms of psychic repression. The moral controller doesn't just follow the rules, he becomes them, not to find truth, but to avoid himself. Every impulse is filtered, every desire questioned, every human contradiction denied. So what happens to the parts he won't accept? He projects them onto you. You're too loud, too selfish, too emotional. Your choices lack discipline. Your joy is childish. Your pain is drama. But the truth? What he condemns in you is exactly what he fears in himself. You've met this person in a teacher, a parent, a spiritual guide, in that one friend who always means well, but leaves you drowning in guilt. They say things like, "I'm just trying to help. You'll understand when you grow up. I expected more from you." You feel judged, even when they smile. You feel wrong, even when you did nothing wrong. And worst of all, you start to judge yourself the same way. Jung spoke of the Christ and the Antichrist as symbols of integration versus dissociation. The moral controller plays savior, but banishes his shadow into others. He does not confront his own darkness. He fights it in you, but now you see it. The moral armor is cracking. Behind the certainty is fear. Behind the virtue is shame. And maybe, just maybe, you've worn that armor too. Trying to be good, trying to do it right, afraid that any flaw makes you unworthy. But perfection is a prison, and morality without self-awareness is just control. You leave the room heart heavier, but the next figure carries no armor, no mask, no control, just raw emotion, ready to implode. This room is trembling, not violently, just enough to make you uneasy. The floor shifts, the walls breathe, everything feels unstable. Then they appear, their faces soft, open. Their eyes shine with warmth until they don't. They reach for you, then recoil. They smile, then accuse. They laugh, then break. They are love wrapped in fear. They are chaos wrapped in tenderness. Carl Jung called this complexes, autonomous fragments of emotion and memory capable of taking over consciousness. The complex don't mean to hurt you, but they do. Because they are not here. Not really. They live through their past. Every word you speak, every move you make, passes through an invisible filter of old wounds. You say, I need space, and they hear, you'll abandon me like everyone else. You say, that wasn't my intention, and they cry, you're gaslighting me. You offer love, they suspect control. You offer truth, they feel betrayal. You remember someone like this, don't you? A partner who loved you wildly, but turned cold in an instant. A friend who was always there until a single sentence shattered everything. Their triggers are landmines. You walk carefully, you talk carefully, you breathe carefully, and still, it's never enough. Because the real war isn't with you, it's inside them. Jung warned, complexes act like hidden personalities, alive, reactive, and outside our control. And when they take over, you're no longer speaking to the person. You're speaking to a child who wasn't held, a teen who was betrayed, a soul that's never been heard. But the scariest part? You adapt. You silence your needs. You become small, just to keep peace. Until one day you look in the mirror and wonder where you went. You were not weak. You were surviving in someone else's storm. And they don't even know it's raining. The complexed are not villains. They are fractured. And sometimes, so are we. Maybe you've hurt someone because of pain you didn't name. Maybe your silence once felt like safety. But now you see, awareness is the first thread of healing. And as you step away, the shaking fades. But exhaustion sets in. You faced guilt, repression, perfection, chaos. But the next figure doesn't shake or scream or cry. They simply drain you slowly, quietly. The psychic vampire awaits. The door opens into silence. No storms, no judgment, just heaviness. You almost don't notice them at first. They're not loud, they're not intense, they're needy. At first, they seem sweet, grateful, vulnerable. They say things like, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only one who gets me. You feel needed, important, special, and then you feel tired, not from running, not from talking, tired of being. Carl Jung never used the term psychic vampire, but he described the dynamic well. In symbiotic relationships, one person fails to exist as a separate individual and becomes a function of the other. The psychic vampire doesn't take by force. They invite you in with stories of pain, with eyes that beg for help, with silence that screams, don't leave me. So you stay, you listen, you carry. One story becomes 2, one favor becomes 5, 1 hour becomes your life. You start missing things, missing yourself. They don't want your advice. They want your energy, your attention, your emotional oxygen. And when you need space, they say, I guess I'm just too much. When you pull away, they whisper, you're just like the others. Suddenly, you are the villain, the selfish one, the cold one. But here's the truth. You can't fill a void you didn't create. You can't heal someone who refuses to stand on their own. The psychic vampire is not evil. They are empty, and that emptiness is bottomless. No amount of giving will make it whole. You remember someone like this, don't you? Maybe a friend who always had a crisis. Maybe a parent who needed your emotional care. Maybe a lover who loved your light, but dimmed it to survive. And maybe you've been this person too, once, when you didn't know how to self-soothe, when you mistook neediness for love, when you believed survival meant attaching to anyone who stayed. But now, you are awake. You see the pattern. You feel the drain. You reclaim your right to boundaries, to solitude, to sovereignty. You look at them one last time. Their eyes plead, their voice quivers, but you don't answer, not with guilt, not with anger, but with clarity. You walk away, not because you don't care, but because you finally do, for yourself. You faced all six: the manipulator, the mask, the shadow, the judge, the wound, the drain. But the most dangerous one, the one who hides in your own mirror. And now, it's time to face them. The final door doesn't creak. It welcomes you, gently, as if it knew you'd make it here all along. There's no one waiting. No masks, no shadows, no cries for help. Only a mirror, and in it, you see yourself. But this time, you really see. The tired eyes, the careful posture, the compassion, the scars, the truths you swallowed, the parts of you that bent to survive, the times you hurt others without knowing, the moments you stayed silent just to be loved. You have been all of them, haven't you? The manipulator, when you couldn't voice your pain. The mask wearer, when being real felt dangerous. The shadow holder, when emotions were too heavy to feel. The judge, when control felt safer than vulnerability. The wounded, when your past screamed louder than the present. The vampire, when loneliness turned into hunger. You've been them, and yet you are not just them. Carl Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." You've done that now. You walked through your own psyche, not to judge it, but to understand it, not to condemn others, but to recognize the reflection. The faces you met were never enemies. They were invitations to awareness, to responsibility, to wholeness. This is individuation, not perfection, but integration. You are not here to be flawless. You are here to be true. You turn from the mirror, not to escape it, but because you finally know. You carry light and shadow. You can set boundaries and love deeply. You can fall and rise. Now, when you return to the world, you'll see things differently. Not everyone is safe. Not everyone is ready. But you are aware. You are awake. And no one, not even your past, can take that from you. Welcome back, traveler. You've met the danger. You've named the darkness. Now go live in the light.